Hey everybody, today I wanted to do my list. These are my top 10 most stable kayaks, pedal drive edition. So these are all going to be pedal drives. There's no thought to budget or performance. We're just looking at stability. I'm going to go over my 10 favorite that I have experience with, either secondhand or primarily here at the shop. Let me know what you think at the end of the video. One thing is, you're definitely going to be surprised with my number one, just based off my previous videos. I've got a new number one, and stick around to the end if you would and see which one that'll be. But let's get right into it. Okay, so I wanted to take just a second just to talk about stability. So what makes a kayak stable? What makes one kayak different from the other? Is it width? Is it length? Is it a combination of the two? Does seat height affect stability? So I'll go over that here just real quick. So seat height does affect stability, but a majority of your kayaks are built for the seat height that comes from the factory. So namely, I'm talking about, Hobie Pro Angler, the Perception Outlaw, a lot of these kayaks that have that high seat position from the factory out of the box. The hull, which is the bottom side of your kayak, is designed for that seat position. So typically when you see those really high seat positions, you're going to have a very stable kayak. Otherwise, that boat is going to flip out from under you, you're going to be top heavy, and you're going to tip on over. That definitely, the reason I talk about this is a lot of kayaks out there don't have that, but people still will do risers or put a different seat on it and modify it. That's when you really start to play around with the intended mechanics of that kayak. So that's why I say that, seat position. Width is another thing to really consider. So you've seen kayaks from fishing kayaks from 33 and a half inches wide all the way up to 41 inches wide. So which one of those is going to be more stable? Well, again, that's going to depend on the hull makeup or the hull design. And that's very important. So when you see a kayak like Ascends, now Ascend is the kayaks you see at like Bass Pro Shops and places like that. They're very, very flat and very wide, so why won't those be as stable as some of these other kayaks you see? Hull design matters. So when you're talking about primary and secondary stability, which is another thing altogether, primary is that initial wiggle when it's flat on the water. Secondary is once you lean over a certain amount and you'll feel that secondary, the second wind, if you will, that additional stability or resistance there. And your catamaran, your tri-hull, like a Perception Outlaw, like a Bonafide Kayak, are going to be a little bit more stable feeling than your Ascends, and also your weight capacity. So this is the amount of plastic that it's made out of, the buoyancy of the kayak, how high it sits up in the water column. Those are all things that you're really going to want to pay attention to with a kayak, and that's why having a local paddle shop really benefits you, because you're going to be able to talk to people that specialize in these kayaks. So anyways, without further ado, let's get right into the list. Okay guys, so getting into the list here, starting at number 10, it's actually a kayak that we don't carry here at the store, but I do have some experience with, and I'm talking about the Three Waters Big Fish series. So this kayak comes in, it's huge, it's wide, it's stable, may not be the best performance-wise, but at the sub $2,000 price range, it also represents the cheapest kayak on this list at around anywhere from $16.99 and up, depending on which variation you go with. So one of the pros I would say about this kayak is, one, it's budget friendly. Again, under $2,000, it does represent that cheaper price point on this list. And two, you have a lot of variations. You have a lot of different layouts, some different things you can do with this. But one of the cons is the quality may not be there. So also with the lower price point on this list, it's probably definitely, in my opinion, going to be on the lower end or at the bottom of the quality on this list as well. So just keep that in mind. You do get what you pay for, but if the budget is kind of around that area, this could be a very stable kayak for you. Okay, so number 9, this is the Perception Kayak Showdown 11.5. So many of you are familiar with this platform. This is basically just a pedal drive version of the Perception Outlaw. Many of you know the Perception Outlaw. It's been one of the best value kayaks out there for stability specifically. But now, again, with the paddle kayak, it's very sluggish in the water. It's, if you're going a great distance, it's not going to turn quick, it's not going to paddle very fast, but adding a pedal drive and a rudder kind of creates some solutions to that problem. MSRP on this kayak for this year is $2249. So $2,249 for this kayak. It's not a lot more than the Big Fish series, but in my opinion, you get a little bit more versatility, and some of the features built into the kayak you might like a little bit better. They've added some things to it, so instead of having the mesh on the bow, the mesh cover on the bow, you do have kind of a bungeed, zippered up kind of dry pod almost that fits on there, which is really nice. The rudder's works pretty well on this kayak, but the pedal drive, that would be the one con I would say, is Perception's pedal drive could use some work and could use some updating, but for $2249, again, it really fits the bill in my opinion for the price range. Okay, so coming in at number 8, it's the Wilderness Systems Recon 120 HD. So HD of course stands for Helix Drive, which is the Wilderness Systems pedal drive. It's going to be very similar to the Perception pedal drive setup in that it can really use some updating in my opinion, but the whole of the the Recon has been a really popular one over the years. They've added swivel seat capability to it. I believe it was last year that they did that first. But again, the Recon could use some updating. It's kind of been passed over by a lot of kayaks around that same price range. And in my opinion, it's not the worst paddling kayak in the world. It's not the best, obviously, but it's made for stability. It's made for a comfortable seat setup. It gives you that really large front hatch to store stuff and gear inside the hull, which is really nice. And it's a solid platform. So pros, again, I would say it's a really comfortable seat. It's a really nice layout. You do, again, have the option to store stuff inside the hull instead of just the open deck space. You got plenty of room to stand up on and the stability to do so. Cons on this kayak, I would say, again, that pedal drive really needs to be updated in my opinion, or really just maybe redesigned. I think would really breathe some life back into Wilderness Systems, which they've been kind of lacking on the innovation side. Now, those of you, of course, that have watched iCast have seen the Tactical Pro 128, but we're talking about a kayak that's primarily or solely designed just to be motorized. So number 7 is going to be the Hobie Lynx. So with stability on the Lynx, it's a flat platform, almost a paddleboard style platform. So it's very, very stable. It does come with the 180 Mirage drive, which in my opinion is one of the best drives out there. A lot's been made of the 360 drives that Hobie comes out with, but the Mirage Drive 180 is one of the best in the business. It does not come with turbo fins, but you can upgrade that if you want a little bit extra speed, but it is an extra cost option. Now, the cost of, the MSRP of the Lynx stands at $32.99, so it is kind of around the top point of the price, but a lot of people love this kayak because of its weight. It's extremely, extremely light. And without the seat and everything and the drive on it, you're looking at a sub 50-pound kayak, which to me really needs to kind of, I'd like to see certain manufacturers go back into that direction for those lighter throw and goes. The rudder style on it has a lot of travel, so you're going to get a tremendous amount of nimble versatility out of that rudder. You're going to be able to turn it on a dime, and it's fast. It planes across the top of the water. You have the drop down rudder, which is going to act as a skeg and a rudder both. So it's going to help track, and I've been on this, we own one. It is absolutely fast, but it is thermoform plastic, so that is the one con I would say about it, is it is thinner, so it's not going to be the best kayak for all types of floating. Obviously, if it's rotomolded, that would add to the weight, but I would like to see them have that option or go primarily to rotomolding the Lynx. Very similar to what they did the Passport a couple of years ago. I think it would make a little bit more of a durable kayak. It is a solid foam on the inside, so it's not a hollow thermoform kayak. So just know that fixing it is going to look a little bit differently. Okay, so coming in at number 6, I'm going with the Bonafide P127. So the P127 came out, I believe, in 2022, and it was one of the more anticipated kayaks on the market, but really didn't do that well. So whether that be, it gets drowned out by the native Propel series with the Titans, and especially now the Titan X, the Slayers, the Slayer Maxes. There's a lot of pedal drives in that same space. I felt like this kayak really got drowned out by a lot of kayaks within that same area, even within the same company, being Big Adventures, which is Native, Bonafide, and Liquid Logic, which Liquid Logic does the Manta Ray, which is really nice, and cheap too at $17.99, but it really kind of hurt the P127. So the P127 came out, I want to say it was $3,099 or $31.99. The price is actually backed off down to $29.99. Now you can make the argument that there's still some better options out there, but as far as stability, it is a big kayak. It is very, very stable. It's got a really nice pedal drive in the Propel series, but the value may not be there, or they may need to update some things or just scrap it and redesign. You may see that in the future, or they may just kind of go to the side of motorized and then keep pedal drives with the Native lineup. But still, a lot of people can find these kayaks out there for really a heck of a deal. And if you're looking for that really stable platform with a comfortable seat, plenty of room, plenty of storage, and there's tons of Yak Attack stuff on there because Bonafide and Yak Attack was really kind of started by the same people. But the value part of it, which is really going to be big moving forward, I think, in the kayak industry, it may not fit really well there, at least at MSRP of $29.99. Hey everybody, I wanted to talk about today's video sponsor, and that's Redodo Battery. What you see behind me here, this is the 12-volt, 100-amp-hour battery that I've been using all year on my Motor Guide Xi3, and I've got it hooked up to their 14.6-volt, 20-amp charger. You can check all these products on their website. I'll leave a link in the description down below. You can use code PADLER to save 5%, and as always, shipping is free. They run sales periodically as well, so definitely be on the lookout for that, and they're constantly coming out with new products. So check them out, and let's get back to the video, guys. So now we're getting into the top 5. This is going to be the big stars of the pedal drive industry. And starting at number 5, I'm talking about the Old Town Sportsman PDL series. So the Old Town Sportsman PDL is one of the more popular ones out there, and for good reason. Their pedal drive or PDL drive is, in my opinion, one of the most reliable and durable pedal drives out there. Obviously, I'm really high on Native's Propel drive, being marine grade aluminum, but the Sportsman PDL, and namely just Old Town's PDL in general, is very, very durable. It's been really, they've run that same pedal drive for many, many years now, and that would be the one con with this setup is it is needing some updates. Not the pedal drive, but the hull, which to me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So the pedal drive, I don't think needs any updating. The hull, though, really could use some small changes, namely just storage. So I'm talking about like catch boards or leader boards now with Yak Attack. You really need to kind of update some things on there to give that value proposition and maybe have a little bit of an easier motor mount option with bow or stern, because Old Town has really kind of gotten to that point where they design kayaks for specific needs. So if you want a motor, you get the Autopilot. If you want a pedal drive, you get the Sportsman or the Big Salty. And if you want paddle kayaks, they have kayaks that paddle too. So they don't typically have a lot of crossover or intention of crossover, but although some people do run the motors on those. And another pro about the Sportsman is the price range. So you can get the Old Town Sportsman 106 pedal drive for $25.99, which is a great value in my opinion, and the 120 for $28.99, which again, still a good value. It's a 12-foot kayak, very modular, very stable, extremely comfortable chair. Again, I'm a big fan of the pedal drive because it floats and it is just bulletproof. The only drawback to it is a lot of people find the need to stock additional props and shear pins. That can really happen with any pedal drive manufacturer, but with Old Town, it's kind of a known thing to make sure that you have one of those on hand. But it's easy enough to repair that you can do it on the fly, out on the water, and not have to worry about paddling this thing back without the pedal drive. So anyways, that's the Old Town Sportsman. So number 4 for stability, I'm gonna go with the Jackson Kayak Big Rig FD. So FD just stands for Flex Drive, which Jackson with their Mark IV Flex Drive is finally, in my opinion, the quality that you expect from Jackson. And But the one thing about the big rig is it's a big kayak. The name doesn't even hide how large this kayak is. It's wide, it's long, it's heavy, great seat position on it, both high and low, so you do have that adjustability on there. But stability, I can stand up on this thing for days, not have to worry about wake or wind or anything. But there are some drawbacks to it. So at $39.99, so let's just say $4,000, it may not have the value in today's market that a lot of these kayaks that come out with today at a cheaper price that have more features on it. Namely, I'm talking about bow mount trolling motors, I'm talking about storage, I'm talking about riggability, gear track, talking about live scope, anything that the industry can throw at you. The big rig may lack on some of those features while still being able to facilitate them. 3 or 4 years from now, that big rig may be obsolete unless they make some updates. These are easy things to fix, but they do require some, some design, some research and development, and just not sure if Jackson's ready to do that on the big rig specifically yet. So number 3, and this is everyone's favorite kayak to hate on or love on, and we're talking about this is the Hobie Pro Angler 14. So they do sell it in a 12-foot version also, but for this list, we're gonna go with the 14 because it is more stable. It is extremely stable. It is wide, it is big, it's a boat. So many of you make a lot of the discussion on is it a kayak or a boat. Looking at a Hobie Pro Angler, whether it's us here or people, beginners or novices coming into the door for the first time, they look at a Pro Angler and say, wow, that's a bass boat, basically. So it's heavy, it's very wide and stable, but the pedal drive, so a lot's been made of the issues with the 360 drives. I like the 180 drive personally. It comes with turbo fins. The speed and efficiency on this kayak is amazing. And in my opinion, the fin drive is really the best way to go on that, even though you don't have that immediate reverse. So again, if you're looking for that immediate reverse, definitely check out my video that I did between the fin and the prop style pedal drives and the pros and cons to both. But anyways, the Pro Angler at this, you're looking at about almost $6,000 for the top of the line Pro Angler. And again, that's 360. $47.99, I believe, for the 180 drive. Is it worth the extra $1,000 to go with the 360 drive? That depends on you, on what you use the kayak for. And another thing is the value may not be there on this kayak if you don't use all of the features. This, in my opinion, is one of the most feature-rich kayaks out there. You got retractable transducer mounts, you've got a lot of rigging capabilities, you've got the H-rail mount, which Hobie does their own line of products to sell on that. You can even have, they even sell a live well that goes on this, a true live well with the water circulation pumps and everything. So there's a lot to do with the Pro Angler, but if you're just going out every great once in a while, taking one rod with you, this is probably not the kayak for you. But as far as stability goes, this is one of the best in the industry, in my opinion. And the seat, in my opinion, is the best still as far as seats go. So number 2, and this may surprise some of you guys seeing some of my content on this kayak earlier in this year. And number 2 is the Native Titan X 12.5. So I always made the comment that the Native Titan X 12.5 is the most stable kayak that I've ever been on. And it is, but when I get to my number 1, you'll kind of understand why I say that. So the Native Titan X, in my opinion, is one of the more modern kayaks out there. It's got riggability for your motor on the bow. You can rig your motor on the stern, on the transom there. You got a large tank well. You even have battery storage under the seat that is in the hull but in a tub. Plenty of room to run that 100 amp hour battery, whether you're running it on the front or the back. It's centered on the kayak, so it disperses the weight really well. But the biggest con with this kayak is the weight. So I believe it's 172 pounds fully rigged up on the 12.5. That's heavy, obviously. So it's got a great pedal drive, it's got great stability, it's got great features on it. You can go a lot of different directions with this kayak. You can rig foot steering up on it if you want to do the motor. You can use your pedal drive as your secondary propulsion. There's a lot of things you can do on this, but it is heavy. It is extremely nimble and fast too for this size. That's one thing I definitely point out to people when they're looking at this, is how quickly this thing turns, how tight of a circle you can turn, and how much speed you can get with this while still keeping that instant reverse you get with a prop style drive. And finally, number one, the number one most stable pedal drive kayak, and I'm talking about the Blue Sky Angler 360. So some of you are familiar with this, some of you may not be. The Blue Sky Angler is kind of a division of Jackson Kayak. This is a true, what I would call catamaran style hull. So you just have two cats running along the side. You have a plastic platform. This is literally a dock on with Jackson's Mark IV pedal drive on it. Now, it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's also not the most expensive. At $49.99, again, $5,000, you get a true high swivel bass boat style seat. You get rudder controls. The rudder on this is amazing. The pedal drive being revamped, redesigned, definitely is a great addition to this kayak. Now, they also sell this in a pro version if you're not even interested in the pedal drive, but you want the motor option. They do sell the cheaper pro version if you're only wanting to do motorized. The only thing I'd caution about that is if you're wanting to paddle this thing, you're going to be doing some work. So if anything were to happen on your battery or your motor, which these things happen, you have no secondary form of propulsion unless you want to get out there and paddle it. You're not going to be able to paddle this from the seated position. You'll have to stand on the side. So definitely some things to think about, and that's definitely a con. Another con is getting this thing in the back of a truck, depending on the truck setup you got. It is not realistic. It does come with its own set of flip down wheels or landing gear, if you will, but this is more of a trailered kayak, and honestly, this specific kayak, the way it's built, depending on your trailer setup, it can still present some challenges just in the way it's built. So you still got these long pontoons on the flat platform. You just need a flat space for those pontoons to sit down on. So that can be a flat wooden deck like a utility trailer, but those of you that run like your jet ski trailers for your kayaks may not be able to do that on this one. So anyways, guys, what do you think of the list? Let me know down in the comments below, maybe something I missed on. And if I missed one, let me know what you would replace on the list with that kayak. So anyways, guys, look forward to hearing you. Let me know down in the comments. I'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible, but I really want to get your feedback on this list here. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll see you on the next one.